Hi, welcome to Inspiration Art Group International, part of our portfolio series that we present different artists that are members. And today we have the opportunity and the privilege of showing you the work of Liliana Washburn. She's going to be showing us her drawings, her paintings, and we will also see a video. We invite you to stay and enjoy the work, enjoy her speaking about the work. And just to let you know a little bit about Liliana, she says that emotions are her main subject matter. She calls her work human nature because it is human nature to express all feelings. It is sharing them that allows us to connect each other. She goes along to say, I paint because it makes me feel happy. It is my hope that when you look at my work, we can share that moment of happiness. So I invite you to feel free to put some comments and questions in the chat. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have a moment to answer some of the questions. So we'll go ahead and bring Liliana on and start with her presentation. Liliana, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and presenting your work to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bibi, for introducing me. Beautiful, what you just did. I also want to thank Bibiana for inviting me to present my portfolio. Bibiana not only is a great force behind the art for all of us, she's also a great friend for me. So thanks for everyone that watched this movie and this presentation, and we can start. This is my studio. My studio is in my home. It's my porch in my home. And what you're looking at, it's a long table. I started working on those tables when I had in 2010, when I started painting on Yupo paper. My main work on Yupo was usually on a 20 by 26 size. And I needed a large space because I work in two paintings at the same time. That was my process at the time. As my work evolved in 2016, I started developing works in illustration and also my drawings on canvas, which is a line work. And because I work with these two styles, I want to show you that since the beginning of my work, I have been working with these two styles. So here on the left, you see my first logo. It's called Freedom. It's a painting that was made with acrylics. It was actually made in 2005 when I not even had the idea that I would become an artist. And then on the right, what you see are what I called my 4x4 works, 30 days 4x4s. And these are watercolors on watercolor paper. So every day to create my work on Yupo paper, which was large, I would create a small watercolor. It was my process to kind of clear my mind and see whatever would come up for me in terms of my feelings. And this work is also from the same time, and it's inks on Yupo work. From my Yupo paper, I went through about 6 years of work in which I did first inks on Yupo paper for 2.5 years. And then I did acrylics on Yupo paper. And then I experimented with mixing both of them and experimented with oils to see what would come up. This is called Intimacy, and I hope you can see it. My inks right now are much clearer. The lines are much clearer. And this is one of the works I like the best from this series. Yupo paper has a satin finish that is incredible. So any ink that you use on the paper is going to have a satin finish. I use Sennelier inks for most of my works. I love how the colors they have. And I never really mix the colors. I let them mix directly on the paper. And takes a little bit for you to get the hang of it because the inks The paper has a very thin layer of plastic. It's a synthetic paper, so has this very thin layer of plastic. And every media that you use on it, you have to manipulate, look at it and manipulate really fast. And you have to have some imagination when you're doing that process. And these two other works are Fear and Hope. Like I said, all my work is pretty much based on emotions. I think this has a lot to do with my background. I'm Brazilian. Brazilians are emotional. We're Latin people, so it's part of us as well. In this painting, this painting is an acrylics on Yupo paper. It measures 38 by 40, 26 by 40. And when I first created this work, underneath of it, there is a whole painting that is all made on inks. But there was a spot in this painting that I couldn't, it kept disturbing me, and I kept changing and changing and changing and changing, and I couldn't get to where I wanted. So I felt really mad at it, and I wanted to destroy the work completely. So what I did was I used my tubes of acrylics, and I applied the acrylic, and then I had on the big table that you saw at the beginning, I had a piece of wood in there. I took that wood and I went over the acrylics using my whole body, my whole emotion, hoping to destroy the work. When I let go of the piece of wood, I look at the painting and I said, oh my God, this is beautiful. And my husband was outside with a friend. He came in. He also felt the same way. Every time I look at this painting, I think of my grandmother, because my grandmother had kind of two lives at the same time. She, at the beginning of her life until she was 50, she was a woman that she was very quiet, had her hair like pepper hair in a bun on her head. And her clothing was dark gray or black, and she barely spoke. After my grandfather passed away, she became another person. She cut her hair short. She changed her clothing to colorful clothing. She went out. She later got a boyfriend, and at the age of 71, she remarried. So every time I look at this painting, I think of her. I think the first one was her life till she was 50, which I actually didn't like how she was, how quiet and everything. And then the beautiful person that she became, full of life and incredible. This painting, it was created in 2013. It is also an acrylic on Yupo paper. The original was sold, and up to now is the painting that I have sold the most, because I have number prints of it, and I have sold quite a few of them. This is called Love. It's also acrylics on Yupo. This painting is called Ascension. Ascension was created in 2014. And when I started doing this work, I didn't like the work at all. I would go back day after day painting and trying to change this and change that. And I didn't know why I was going back to the painting. And in my mind was, why are you here every day? Why you not even like this painting? What are you doing? And after 4 months doing that, I painted the top of this, which is like a flower. You see like several dots, and it's like the air coming out of something and going to heaven or higher, to a higher level. And in my mind, the word ascension came to my mind, and I knew right then that the painting was in relation to me accepting the loss of my mother. And that painting, when I finished doing, it allowed me to talk with my mother in a different way after that, because by then the painting for me It was the fact that I had to accept her passing or her near passing. These are small watercolors on Yupo paper. Like I said, I used to do 4x4 for my watercolor, my drawings. And then when I switched to do large drawings on canvas, I started doing small watercolors on Yupo. So the process is similar, but I go between work large on Yupo and small on my illustrations, or work large on my illustrations or small on Yupo. I feel that the work that you do is a lot related to your personality, and I don't like to do repetitions and repetitions of things. I get bored by it, so I need to change, and that's what I do. I go from one to another, and then I kind of get a break when I'm tired of one style or the other. That's how I get my break. So this is another sample of my small watercolors. And this is my drawings, my small 4x4 drawings. Here I'm putting I put all 31 4x4s in a 3 feet by 3 feet canvas. And from now, I think we can stop and we could go to see our movie, and then you will understand better this other part. Hello, everybody. I'm Liliana Washburn. I'm a painter and digital illustrator. Today, I'm going to talk with you about my work. I started painting 10 years ago, and at the beginning, I basically painted on Yupo paper. But to do my work on Yupo, I used to draw a small watercolor, which was my warm-up from my work on Yupo. Initially, I thought I would just make 30 of those little paintings and put them all together and have a psychological portrait of myself. And the idea came from a book called The Artist Way. In the book, there was a quote from Picasso saying, "Painting is just like creating a diary." And I thought to myself, I'm going to create my diary by painting. And for 30 days, I did all my 4x4s. And then later on, I put them on a 36 by 36 canvas. By doing that, I learned that even your worst days painting, when you put everything together, it still makes an incredible design because it's part of you. So in this small work, I never erased anything. I used a gel paint to do the lines, and the only thing that I had in mind is there is no mistake. Whatever I do, whatever comes out, it is what it is. And when you put the 30 days together, you see that an incredible design and an incredible painting comes through. And every detail of what you did in those days is also important. So through my 8 years, I showed the Yupo. But in 2016, I went to a residency in Poland. And because I couldn't frame my Yupo, I had to draw on canvas, and I wanted to draw large. So it was my first experience going from a small drawing to a large one. And on Yupo, I worked with wet on wet, which it is you put the water on the paper, you drip your colors, you look at it, and whatever design is coming up, you work with that to create whatever you want to create. It takes a little bit of control and a little bit of very little, because on wet there is little that you can control. But you have to have some type of imagination on what you want to create, and you go looking at the designs that form when the colors merge to have your final design. So you don't really create a palette other than choose the colors that you wanted when you work on Yupo. But when you work on large scale and drawings and you are working on a canvas, you need to know your colors. So to do that, I went through a large process of doing color charts, which I'm going to show you. These are just some of them. I lost account. A year and a half I spent doing that because I had several brands of paint, and I used to mix them if I was creating something in acrylics. And of course, I would get different results. So I needed to figure it out a palette for myself, and that's what I did. I did color charts from all the brands that I had, and one for each brand, and I thought I can separate and pick up a brand and just do that. But turns out that's impossible because I came to love different colors from certain brands. So what I did was I selected the brands and the colors I like the best and created my own palette. And I mixed them and I put them in those little jars. I put a number on them so I know exactly the proportions that I use for that color. So every time I have to paint in a large scale, I know exactly what I want. And by doing the color charts, what happens is that I have done them so many times that now when I grab a color, I have an idea what the result, which result I'm gonna get it. One of the things that people don't realize also is that the surface that you are working on makes a huge difference in what you're gonna see as a result. For example, Yupo has a very satin finish. It's beautiful. So, and it's also a sealed because it's plastic. It's sealed so the color really shines. But when you put that color on a canvas, what happens is it absorbs the color. So it's not always the same, and each brand has its own level of absorbency on the canvas. So all of these I have been learning for the last 40 years, and today I feel pretty comfortable with painting on my canvas and painting on wood as well. I seal my wood. I have a better result when I do that, and it also helps conserve the wood. And then I use my color palette, and I have a wonderful time doing that. You may think that is like hard to do the color charts because they take time, but it's also a very pleasurable and kind of meditative way to do things. It's really nice. So without any more delay, I'm going to show you some of my works. I love doing my female shapes. They come from my portrait paintings or my figure drawings. I sketch them and then I put them in my iPad. I trace them and then I put my colors. And from my iPad, I put it on canvas. So let's go check them out. Okay, so this is one of my large works on canvas. It is 36 by 40, and it came from one of my portrait drawings, the drawing itself. This is called Peaceful, and it is 9 by 12, also for my portrait. I believe this is Dream With Me, also 9 by 12. These are all on wood. This is Checkmate, and it's also 9 by 12 on wood. And this one, I can't remember the name, but it's also on wood, 9 by 12. This one is on canvas. I hope you can see it well. And these two are my most recent paintings. Let me move this a little so you can see it better. It's part of a that I created during the lockdown in COVID, and it's called Thinking Through Number One. I have made 8 paintings in this style, and I have put it on wood, 2 of them. Of course, they can be painted in any size because they are illustration. I just have to decide the size that I'm going to do it. And this is my initial work, the 4x4. The initial work. Hi, I hope you enjoy watching this video. And if you like to see more of my work, visit my website at lwashburn.com. Feel free to send me a note. I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day.
That was wonderful, Liliana. Thank you so much. It was so great to get a full picture of how your process works and how you put things together, where your ideas come from. I actually have a couple questions for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Yupo paper, what it is, and just a little
Sure.
bit about it?
I have a sample here from the Yupo. Yupo is a synthetic paper, and it's tree free, and it's recyclable. So what happened is there is a very thin film in here that is plastic, and then because of it, none of the material is absorbed in this. It is excellent for any abstract work. If you are doing more representational, it's a little more difficult to use, but it's still a good paper to use on that. Yupo, today I was actually in the site to see the Yupo. When I started using Yupo, could only be bought through Yupo Corporation. Later they changed to the Legion, and now they are selling again through their site. So they have all different types of, all sizes already all cut for you, and different sizes that you can buy directly from them. Yeah, and the main thing for me in relation to this paper is the satin finish. It really, I can't find any paper that has that kind of luster to it to do my work.
I can see how that would be really lend itself to kind of partner with your work to have a real beautiful finish. I can see that. It's lovely.
Oh, thank you.
We have a question I see from Phyllis, and she's asking, are the color charts in watercolor or acrylic or ink? What are they?
In watercolor. Oh, the color charts, though, the one that I showed in the movie, they are in acrylics, and they are made on an acrylic paper from Canson. And that paper is excellent for that.
Great.
And it's 11x14 is the one that I used.
Great. And I have a question. Oh, actually, there's another one. Are the figures from your imagination, or do you use a mannequin head I saw in the background of your studio?
Oh, no, that mannequin head, it's a friend of mine that gave it to me. I tried to use it, but for some reason, didn't fit the style. So some of them come from my imagination. Some of them, actually, I get some images from Pixabay. Because Pixabay, if you go there, you have a ton of images that are free. You can, and you can use it in your work if you wanted to. So some of them I used from there, and some of them came from my imagination.
Great, great. And then I had a couple questions for you, actually, too. One, getting a little bit away from the actual techniques and the actual work, I'm kind of curious as to your background and how you feel that influences your work. I know that Brazil has a reputation of being a country that's so beautiful, with so many beautiful people that really appreciate joy. And just wondering how you see that cultural heritage as influencing you in your work, or if you do at all.
Yeah. I have been thinking about this lately, and I do think there is a an influence on that, on my work. And the way that I think is the biggest influence, first, is that my work is related to feelings. And the second one is the movement that I have in my work. Either a Yupo paper or my line work, you can see that it's filled with movement. And I think that is because comes from my childhood, the fact that I run bare feet anywhere I wanted, the fact that the landscape and the nature in Brazil is so beautiful, that also comes through the flowers. I always loved vines because vines go everywhere and they grow like unbounded. And so this comes through when I'm creating my flowers, and it also comes through when I do my drawings by my expressive lines.
Oh, that's great. That's really interesting to hear. I love hearing people's connections from where they came from to where they are now. Can you tell us about, speaking of where you are now, can you tell us a little bit about your gallery? I understand you have a gallery in Poughkeepsie.
Oh, yes. March of this year, I opened a gallery inside Conan Hackett. It is located at 9 Vassar Street in Poughkeepsie, and I'm on the third floor. I'm 33, suite 32, sorry. And in September, good that you talked about that. In September, we are going to have an open studio for Poughkeepsie. And so September 9 and September 10, several artists, not several, but a large number of artists are going to be opening their studios and galleries, and there will be a lot of events there for that. In my studio, I will have the latest work that I'm doing, which is experimenting with different paper on wood. Sorry, let me go back. Experimenting with my digital design by putting it on Yupo paper, watercolor paper, and wood. So I'll have this in the studio for people that would like to see the actual work and question and find out more about it. And everyone is welcome to come anytime. If you want to check it out, just check LW Gallery, which is my domain for my gallery. And I'll be happy to have you there.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And can you tell people how they can get in touch with you? Your website for your galleries, LW Gallery. And
And for my studio work is lwashburn.com.
Okay, great. And I understand that through your website, people can also purchase your works. Is that true?
Yes, my website is run by Shopify. So I have I have a number of works there right now. It's all my line work. It's in that site. And if someone is interested in buying, they can buy directly from me.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing so openly with us about your process. And I see this piece kind of shows a process, or is this a series?
Yeah. Oh, yes. This is the series that I'm working now. Like the top drawing, the top image is my image on my iPad, which is my digital illustration. And then on the bottom, you have the left one is on watercolor paper. The middle one is on wood and has some collage in it. And the third one is a mix of my Yupo paper, my style on Yupo paper, and then my line work. I was trying to see how I could combine both styles, if even possible. But to be honest, in this first experiment, I didn't like it. I liked them separately. So we'll see how that goes. This is another example of the top one is my digital work. And then the three on the bottom, 2 are on wood, the left and the middle one. And then the one on the right is on watercolor paper. This is also, the top is my digital. And then in the bottom, I have one is on Yupo paper, the middle one is watercolor paper, and the third one is on wood. So these works are going to be on my opening studio in Poughkeepsie on 9 and 10 of September. This is a more recent one, which I'm experimenting with the digital work to see the line, the change in colors. I usually have just black line, but here I'm playing with the white and other colors to see what happens. Another digital work. This is a series, it's my stick figures, and I initially created them as a holiday card because I want to send Christmas cards out, and I want something that was mine, specifically mine, and I wanted something different. I love having things that are different. So I created this, and I started sending them to my clients, and then I really love doing this work, and I end up painting it on painting them in 20 by 20 canvas. And this work has been sold. And right now I am working on a series of stick figures. I don't know exactly where they are going to go, so I'm not showing any of it. But that's where my mind is at now. Develop my characters or whatever you want to call it. And they make me happy. I love them. So I think that's all for my presentation. And if someone has questions, feel free.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to get to see the different processes that you use. And also it's so interesting to see the different surfaces, the wood, the Yupo, and then the canvas. And really interesting. You know, I never thought of having the same type of media on different surfaces. So that's a really wonderful idea to kind of put forth from this presentation. Yeah. Go ahead, Liliana.
Sorry. I want to thank you so much for this, Bibi.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was such a pleasure to get to see your work more in depth. And then, as I said, we can anyone can look further at Liliana's work at her website. And we see that people are making some comments that they love seeing your process and your experimentation. That's been
Thank you, Phyllis.
aspect.
Thank you, everyone that has seen this video, and thanks, Bibi, again.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Such a pleasure. Just a couple things I wanted to mention. Coming up for Inspiration Art Group International, I'm sure Liliana will be in some upcoming shows. If you'd like to look at the website, feel free to check out the QR code, which will bring you to our website. Our website has all of our events and our past shows. We had several shows last year. It was our first year, and we had several shows showing, I don't know, maybe hundreds of artists. I'm not even sure how many. Coming up, we have a few things on August 17th at 4 p.m. in Hudson, New York. We have our first Inspiration Art Group International Symposium. It's going to be at TSL in Hudson, New York. And feel free to check that out on our website. We ask people to RSVP for that. We'll be able to exchange ideas, envision our future, and people will also get a chance to look at the TSL site, which will be hosting us next year for one of our Address Earth exhibitions in 2024. Also, we have some other things coming up. We'll be showing at HV Mocha for Address Earth in the fall. We also have Soft September Breezes coming up, a virtual show. And I think that's all I can think of at the moment for what we have coming up. But thank you so much to our wonderful member, Liliana, for presenting us this wonderful image of her work. And thank you to Bibiana, our founder and curator. And Bibiana, would you like to chime in before we sign off?
Well, thank you both. And thank you, Mimi, for stepping in for Pan Smilo today. And she's in Maine and handling a show. So this worked out really nice. Thank you both for this. And we have more things coming up as our portfolio series continue. And just check our website and we'll see more of this. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.